Now, as world leaders meet in Davos, Donald Trump's fast approaching presidency, of course, rather than a Brexit, is the focus of much of the discussions. It signals shifting political trends that promote protectionism, nationalism, and isolationist policies. Well, let's find out what this means for the continent. In Johannesburg, Lesiba Mothata, the Chief Economist at Investment Solutions, now joins us. Mr. Lesiba, welcome to the show. Now, of course, the majority seem to think that a Trump administration will not view Africa as a foreign policy priority. Based on the little we have heard from his transition team, it is very possible that Africa could see it as scaling back trade and, of course, reducing U.S. development programs. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's not very clear what Trump's view are. But when you look at the details of the relationship that Africa has had with the U.S., mainly expressed around the AGOA agreement, and with that, it's about $50 billion US. When I look at it, it's not likely that when you want to build roads and ports and create infrastructure which needs commodities, that you will overlook a continent like Africa, which is so endowed with resources. So on the contrary to what we'll hear, when I look at the economic side of things, it looks interesting for Africa that this could present an opportunity.
Lesiba, what could happen to the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or of course AGOA, which of course we saw was renewed by President Obama till 2025. Could Africa lose tariff-free access to U.S. markets?
So as one had said, when roads are being built, when airports need to be built, even to the dismay of everyone in the world, if the wall is erected, in the border between U.S. and Mexico, although it requires commodities. And the details around AGOA shows this, that the countries that benefit in the most are commodity producing. In the order of importance, it will be Nigeria, which is that oil goes into the U.S. in a big way from this agreement, followed by Angola. Still, it's oil energy related. And the third being South Africa, which will be minerals. When you look at the top three countries that are benefiting from AGOA and the size, the magnitude of that deal, which is about 75% of the $50 billion US, one gets the sense that it looks like the agreement is largely on commodities, which will be in demand not only from the U.S., but if you look at what Canada is planning with its fiscal policy, you also look at what Japan is planning with fiscal policy, there seemingly is an upswing in commodity prices as a result of this renewed cyclical demand from fiscal policy. As you can appreciate, the world has been seeing monetary policy being more vigilant, more active, and it looks like everyone has resigned themselves to the fact that monetary policy has done its course, has run its course, and it's time for fiscal policy to take the baton. And when that happens, commodities could actually pick up.
Well, how do you see China's, of course, increasing interest across Africa affecting the incoming Trump administration? Is the U.S. losing out to the Chinese, and is this good for Africa?
I think Africa is ripe for opportunities. The top 10 fastest growing economies remain in sub-Saharan Africa. And the world leaders, the world powerhouses like China and the US, and lately Japan and also Germany are showing interest. In fact, the whole G20 is increasingly looking at Africa as an area for diversifying growth and earning higher returns. It's all a good thing. It's good to have competing forces. China has its own contribution. It's mainly around its brick and mortar investment, the much needed investments. But one has looked at what is happening with the US. All these trade deals are increasingly getting a feeling that Trump will look at the detail of it and say, well, I need this. and I need more Africa than less. In fact, he will need it more than Obama had needed it, because Obama was preoccupied by the financial crisis and what has ensued after 2008. Trump is in a different world, and increasingly one thinks that there could be a benefit for Africa, for both two powerhouses in the world competing in a way to deal with Africa.
All right. Well, many thanks for those insights. Lesiba Mothata joining us there in Johannesburg. Now